Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and Happy New Year. So, as we wrap up 2024 and get ready to usher in 2025, I thought it would be kind of cool to look back on this past year. Um, 2024 was an extremely difficult and challenging year for me. Um, for reasons that I'll get into as we go through without getting into too much detail because I'm not trying to trauma dump on you poor people. um, but one place that was definitely an escape and a place for comfort and reprieve and was certainly one of the, I guess, defining aspects of my year, of my 2024, was going to the movies. Um, and so, I've always loved going to the movies. For as long as I've lived, I've gone like 4 or 5, 6 times a year. I never went too often, but it was something I enjoyed and became more acutely appreciative of, especially after COVID and we almost lost the movie theater industry as a whole. And I started saving my ticket stubs and stuff. Um, and so not only did I start saving every ticket stub, but in 2024 I went on a movie going rampage. Um, and I'm going to sound like such a maniac because I cataloged every single experience. But I ended up going to the movies 48 times this year. I think my previous best was like 7 or 8 times in one year. I went 48 times. I'm crazy, aren't I? Um, and I will say that the three movies I don't have ticket stubs for are Moana 2, Despicable Me 4, and The Sandlot, because there's a local theater here in Scranton, PA called the Ritz Theater that just reopened over the summer, and they're doing this thing where once a month, I think the first Wednesday of every month, they'll show a movie, like an older movie, and admission's only $1 and you get a glass bottle of Coke with your ticket. But there were no physical ticket stubs for that. But yeah, I did get to see The Sandlot on the big screen this year. And so yeah, as we go in, we're gonna look at all the different ticket stubs that I accumulated and maybe give my 2 cents on each movie as we go. So we will begin, of course, with the movie that certainly defined my 2024, and that is Paul King's Wonka. Of course, the Willy Wonka origin story starring Timothy Chalamet. That is canonically, I guess, like a companion to the original Gene Wilder 1971 movie. So, in addition to the two times I saw it at the end of 2023, in the same day, mind you, I ended up seeing Wonka on the big screen an additional 9 times. The movie, it's an amazing movie, and it really touched my soul and provided some comfort. So as I mentioned, I saw it on December 26th of last year, twice in one day. And then the next morning, my grandma passed away. And, I had fond memories of watching old movies and old TV shows with her in her house, including the original Gene Wilder Willy Wonka film. So this movie, from the music to the writing, it kind of harkened back. It harkened back for me to a time when movies and storytelling could be whimsical and risky, sort of out there, sort of out on the margins, I guess. With Wonka, there's no politics, there's no agenda, there's none of that. For people to get their panties in a wad about, oh, it's too woke, it's too this, whatever. There's none of that. It's a very warm, happy, feel good story with a lot of great music and a lot of amazing characters. And so I wanted to start off with Wonka because that was a good place to begin. Yeah, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But yeah, that is the story of Wonka for 2024 and again the end of 2023 when it first came out. And so I guess we will dive in. I'm going to try I'm going to try my best to move my camera so you can see what we have here. So of course, they're not quite in order, so I guess I'll just single out my favorites as I go. So of course, right, as you can see in the center, I finally got to see the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy on the big screen for the first time, starring Tobey Maguire as part of Sony's 100th anniversary Spider Mondays promotion they were doing, where each week for 8 weeks they would show all 8 live-action Spider-Man films, starting of course with Spider-Man 1 and then ending with No Way Home, which I sadly did not get to catch any of the re-releases for the Andrew Garfield or the Tom Holland movies. And to date, the only film of those 5 that I've seen on the big screen already is No Way Home. But I had never seen the Raimi trilogy on the big screen before, and of course these movies mean so much to me, especially the first Spider-Man. It came out on my birthday, May 3rd, 2002. I was 5. And that was such an important movie. It legitimized and redefined the idea of a superhero movie and a summer blockbuster. It was the first movie ever to gross 100 million on its opening weekend. And, a lot of people have opined about how New York needed that movie after 9/11, and it really helped them heal and come together and stuff like that. And so, Spider-Man, the original, is such an important movie. And that movie and the whole Raimi trilogy walked so the Dark Knight trilogy and the MCU and the Avengers and all that could run. And even Spider-Man 3, I think, has rightfully gotten so much more critical reappraisal over time. Like, people thought it was such a messy and disorganized way to end the trilogy, especially since there was supposed to be more films that got canceled and never materialized. But I think over time, people have come to realize that Sam Raimi did the best he could with all of the bells and whistles, all the villains that he had to incorporate, and while still telling a story about Peter Parker and the symbiote corrupting him. And like back in the day, we used to laugh, and it was kind of a meme, and not in a good way, about the jazz hands that Peter would do out on the street. But now looking back, it's so fun and iconic and in line with the character arc. Like, as the symbiote is corrupting him, and he's thinking of himself as way cooler than he really is. So honestly, looking back, it was fun. It was kind of iconic in a good way, and it was, in step with what thematically Sam Raimi the story he was trying to tell. So I'm really glad that these movies just continue to age like fine wine, and I was very grateful to see all 3 of them on the big screen for the first time. Those were 3 huge bucket list films for me. The only others are like Little Miss Sunshine, which I did buy a ticket stub from the opening day of Little Miss Sunshine, found it on eBay, which of course I didn't get to go see when it came out back in 06. You can see it there in the top right corner. But I went and bought that on eBay because I wanted to have it. But that's a bucket list for me. Shawshank Redemption is another one I would love to see on the big screen. But yeah, moving on, of course, move up top, we've got The Wild Robot, which I did get to see. I saw 4 times, and I think it's getting a re-release on the 17th of January. I might go see that again, even though I already have the DVD. Got it for myself for Christmas. But The Wild Robot was another big one. It's very similar to Wonka in terms of just a very warm and emotionally powerful story. One that has so much heart and so much soul. Chris Sanders, of course, the director of Lilo and Stitch and How to Train Your Dragon, he has such a knack for crafting very moving emotional statements with characters who are sort of lost and out there. And so, I get a little choked up because it was a very emotional movie. It made me cry. But yeah, Wild Robot was awesome. Okay, before we move on, of course, we have Deadpool and Wolverine. I saw that 3 times. Okay, you've been looking at the front page for 9 minutes. Let's move on. We've got Dune, which I saw twice. That one was amazing. The Garfield movie, that one sucked. Of course, some of them are faded. Shout out to Scranton Art House, which, oh, by the way, Scranton Art House is where most of my experiences went. This sticker was part of like a charity thing they were doing, Leave the Lights On, John, because John Basagia, the owner, who really revitalized downtown Scranton, there was a whole brouhaha in the local news because they put up this stunning marquee on the front entrance of the theater, and then someone got up in arms that it was violating zoning, late at night, and it was too bright. And I'm like, too bright for who? The freaking all the patrons in the empty mall across the street. But yeah, Scranton Art House is awesome. If you're ever in the Scranton area, please check them out. They have a gift shop too. But that's where I went to see most of my movies this year, and some of the ticket stubs are a little faded. Please forgive me. But yeah, let's move on. Also, The Bike Rider, saw that 2 times. Very good with Austin Butler and Tom Hardy. Abigail, one of the funniest horror movies I've seen in a while. These are all art house. We got, of course, Star Wars Phantom Menace 25th anniversary, more Bike Riders, The First Omen, Kung Fu Panda 4, of course, Madam Web, the Ben-Hur of our generation. I mean, who didn't see Madam Web and who didn't love Madam Web? It was such an amazing movie. And then, of course, Imaginary. I went and saw that on the day that my job announced they were closing our location and laying everyone off. So I went and saw Imaginary to take my mind off things, and that movie freaking sucked. Challengers, that movie also sucked, extremely overrated. Long Legs with Nicolas Cage, that was pretty cool. Of course, we got Beetlejuice, that was pretty cool. Blink Twice, saw it the same day with my sister. Nightmare Before Christmas, finally got to see that on the big screen for the first time as well, and it did not disappoint. Same with The Wizard of Oz. The Mean Girls musical remake, which I saw twice. Saw Dune the second time as well. Abigail saw it a second time. Cabrini, that one was one of my favorites of the year. Migration was very underrated. Nowhere near as good as The Wild Robot, but way better than Garfield or Kung Fu Panda or Despicable Me, like one of the better animated movies I saw. Of course, there's more Wild Robot. Oh, Kraven the Hunter. Just went and saw that last week with my friends Brittany and Billy. We all went and saw Kraven the Hunter, and it was just as good as Madam Web. And then, of course, just yesterday, or 2 days ago, me and my friend Matt and his brother went to see Sonic the Hedgehog 3. That was really good. And again, you're going to see some of my older ticket stubs, like Elvis with Austin Butler. You're going to see some of the older ticket stubs in here. But yeah, Ghostbusters, that one was so freaking mid. Then we have a Twisters ticket stub, which I picked up off the floor at Cinemark. More Mean Girls. And of course, you're seeing some ones from 2022, 2023. And yeah, that'll do it, actually. But yeah, if I had to say what my favorites were for the year, the first team would definitely be Wonka, Wild Robot, Dune, Abigail, and Cabrini, I'd say. And then the second team would be Sonic the Hedgehog 3, Deadpool and Wolverine, The Bike Riders, maybe The First Omen. That was pretty good. But as for the worst films, easily Kraven the Hunter, Madam Web, Garfield, Challengers, and Imaginary. That was definitely the worst of the bunch, especially Kraven and Madam Web. But anyway, let me know in the comments what movies you guys saw on the big screen this year and what was your favorite of the ones you saw and what you thought of them and what you thought of some of the movies that you saw here through the ticket stubs, especially Wild Robot and Wonka. But thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and have a happy new year.